Hello and welcome to Blue Reviews. Today I'm going to show you the Denafrips Ares 2 DAC. And this unit is made by the company Denafrips in China. It's an R2R design, and at the front you can see the inputs: USB, coaxial, optical, a phase invert button and a mute button, and down here there is the description of the sampling rate for 44.1, 48, and yeah, these are 2x means 88.2, and so on. This DAC is an R2R design, so it's a type of technology that was used in the past for DACs. It doesn't use a DAC chip, and so it offers a very natural analog-like sound signature. At the back, show you the back very shortly, very clear. You have balanced outputs, RCA outputs, and yeah, that's it. Very, very simple unit. It's quite heavy actually. And yeah, for the sound quality, I can say this DAC to my ears and my system is very much on the warm side. What you will notice is that it makes a very big soundstage. So big in the sense of everything sounds big. If you hear a saxophone, it doesn't sound small and tiny, it sounds a lot bigger than with conventional chip-based DACs. Also, the soundstage is very wide, but I cannot really say that the depth is that good and the imaging is that good. It is kind of a little bit imprecise in that way, I would say. So it makes a big soundstage, but the instruments are not as clearly separated as you might be used to with a chip-based DAC. So I think it's not the most precise in that regard. It just offers a very big sound. It's quite warm and quite smooth. So on my unit, I know there are reviews out there that say this DAC has a tendency to sound sibilant or bright. Not at all with my Ares. It's more on the warm side, quite smooth on the top. I'm actually missing a little bit of that sparkle and high-end energy, treble energy that other DACs might have. My unit here is quite smooth and warm sounding. Another strength of this DAC is its ability to make a very lively sound. So the instruments sound more dynamic than you might be used to with a chip-based DAC. And they also sound a little bit holographic. The best way to describe the soundstage and sound quality of this thing is it makes the sound in a way that the instruments are playing in your room. So when you sit down and listen to very well recorded music, you hear that the saxophone sounds like it is exactly in your room, quite big, quite holographic in that way. Every sound has a little bit of weight to it, very nice, and the saxophone is standing in your room. All the musicians, all the sounds coming from this thing sound like they are in your room. You don't hear, with this DAC, a lot of the finer details, a lot of the micro dynamics, of the very small, fine details that might be in the recording. This doesn't put them in the foreground, or also doesn't really render them very, very precisely. So that means that room reverberations in the recording, and especially the sound of the room that the recording was made in, is not as present with this kind of DAC. So I think that kind of makes the impression that the instruments are inside your room and not that you are inside the space that the recording was made in. So if you want this sound, this type of sound, having the instruments sounding like they are in your room, in your listening space, then this DAC is for you. If you want to be transported into the space of the recording, if you want to have every fine detail, if you want to hear the room, the concert hall, the cathedral, whatever, if you want to hear that, if you want not only to hear that, but also be in that space of the recording, be transported outside of your room, then this DAC is not the one for you. I would recommend the Chord Cutest for that. That does a completely different kind of imaging than this kind of DAC. It's completely different. Also big soundstage, but completely different than this. Okay? What else is there to say? Yeah, it has a lot of filter options. So you have the non-oversampling mode and the oversampling mode, and you have a slow and a sharp filter. And this is kind of a downside to this DAC, if you will, because enabling the NOS and OS mode is done very, very strangely. So I'm going to show you how you do it. It's not connected, but so you do it this way. You press the mute button and the sound is muted. And you have this little red dot here on the mute button. And then if you connect it with USB, you see the USB red and the mute red. And then you can, with the optical one, on and off, you can switch on and off the NOS mode. So I think red button on is NOS and off is OS mode. And with optical 2, you can choose the filter options. So with off, I think, is slow, and on is sharp filter. Okay, it's very weird. Why not put a button there? It's horrible. But okay. So in terms of the sound, the NOS is, yeah, a little bit rough sounding. You know, it's very warm, very big, but a little bit rough. Not as refined and detailed and good as it can get, in my opinion. So I think the OS option sounds a bit better. And in terms of the filters, yeah, you have the slow filter. And the slow filter sounds the most comparable to regular chip DACs. So it sounds very more precise. You have more treble, and you have a little bit more separation. Everything is the imaging is a little bit better, but the things that make this DAC so special are a little bit less. So it sounds a little bit more balanced, in my opinion. And then you have the sharp filter that goes more again into the direction like the NOS sound, and it has a little bit of a sharper sound, actually, you know, not as smoothed out, a little bit sharper, a little bit more rough, a little bit more dynamic. Quite hard to say what I find is best. Sometimes I like the OS slow filter, and sometimes I like the sharp filter. But this is it for the DAC. So actually you can only buy it from Windshine Audio in Singapore at the moment. Only from China. Yeah. Is it worth the money? Yes, I think it's a very nice sounding DAC. I don't think it's bad, but it is, and you have to know that, it is different and it is weird in a way. So if you're not happy with traditional chip-based DACs and you like to listen to vinyl, you're not into the absolute detailed mega sound, and you just want a very pleasing, natural, organic, easy to listen to sound experience, then this DAC is for you. If you want the best high-end sound, every details, the most precise soundstage, and a lot of depth and space in your music, and if you have that, this might be not for you. This is not the most precise sounding DAC. It is kind of different than what other DACs do. But this thing is definitely not the end game. I don't think that. I had a couple of DACs here. I had a North, what was it? North Star DACs I had here. I had MyTech DACs and the Core Cutest. And that's about it. And I have to say, from all these DACs, I don't like this the best. It's not, for me, it's not really for me. It's missing for me that treble energy. It's missing for me that these details. And I think that big sound that it produces is part of a little bit of an unprecise imagery that this thing is doing. It's just my impression. I don't think it's the end game or anything. But it has a very nice, pleasing sound. You know, I like listening to it. It was very nice. For a lot of kinds of music, it was very nice. And if this is your thing, absolutely go for it. It sounds very lively, dynamic, holographic in the way that the instruments are in your room because you don't hear the space around them as much. So this is what this thing does. And there might be slight variations because some people said that it has a lot of treble energy. And mine doesn't, so I don't know. I don't think it's my system. I think these units, because they are R2R and our resistors have tolerances, I think there might be slight variations in the units. Yeah, so much from my review. Thing is a little bit overhyped at the moment. I think it is overhyped, really. I don't think it is the best. Sorry. But it is different, and that is what is important. A lot of DACs all sound kind of the same, and this thing does something on its own with its R2R design, but it is not the best in every category. Don't expect this thing to be the best DAC ever and beat $3,000 DACs, as some people say. I don't think that way. Okay, I hope that helped a little bit. And see you in the next video. Bye.